and I want to welcome everyone. We have a couple of guests joining us today, and so we'll chat about that more as we get into the agenda. But let's go ahead and start with approval of the agenda and the minutes from the January 28th meeting. So hopefully you got a chance to review that. Rachel sent it around, and now you can see it on the screen. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Alyssa. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. I can't see everybody. Was that
I think it was Cameron.
Cameron or Brian? Okay.
That was me, Cameron.
Thank you, Cameron. Great. Okay, so do we have to, I'm sorry, Rachel, I always forget. Do we have to do all in favor for the minutes?
For voting to approve the minutes, I don't think so. Amy, can you correct me? Is it for the minutes? Do they have to do an individual vote?
No, I don't think
Just
so.
a second is okay. All right,
That's what
so
I thought.
the minutes in the agenda are approved. And our first item on the agenda is we always have time for public comment. And I do believe we have at least one resident joining us today who wanted to provide public comment. So Ava, am I pronouncing your name correctly? You're muted.
There. Yes, Ava. Hi.
Hi, welcome.
thank
Do you want to go ahead and take a couple minutes to share your public comment with us?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm a new quote unquote resident. I'm 16. In December of 16 I bought. I have a background. I'm a Minnesota water steward and have been doing native landscape for like 25 years at least. And so I'm involved in a lot of restoration and volunteer projects. I do usually sometimes sell plants at cost just because I grow too many. But I've donated a lot to the Minnesota Water Steward programs for projects, which are things like rain gardens and swales and different projects that people are doing. So as I look around our city, I'm like, ooh, community action there. Ooh, could we do that there? And I sent Rachel, you got the huge email. I'd like to see your face on that because I talked about Plymouth, for example, sells native shrubs and trees in the spring at lower cost to their residents. Cities like Plymouth, St. Louis Park, Montemita, Rochester, Minneapolis, Ramsey, all work with Metro Blooms or Blue Thumbs. They're the ones that are running the Lawns to Legume program trainings. So their cities subsidize at least part, like they can get $10 off or they go for free, depending on the city. Rain barrel distribution localized rather than people having to go through Hennepin County. I drive down I drive down 66th, which is nice. There are native plants there, but it's all mounded, so the water is going down. So I'm just here saying hello. I'm a citizen. I'm seeing all this stuff. Oh, a couple of you know that I have a Facebook page called Alt Lawns because I'm trying to help people learn how to do that. And have some really somebody from the Bloomington Sustainability on there, and Sustainability Commission on there, and there are like a handful of very experienced people on that. So, hello, I'm here begging for our city to do more, and I'm here to help and introduce myself.
Thank you very much, Ava. We appreciate getting the chance to know you a little bit. It's always nice to connect with other residents who are excited about sustainability issues in the city. Do any staff members have a response or want to share anything now?
Yeah, I think I can respond a little, and then I'm sure Amy has other stuff to add, maybe park stuff or something like that. But yeah, Ava and I did talk, and I will respond to each point in the email. You know, obviously a little busy with some organized collection stuff this week, but we did talk. And all of the points are super valid, and like I told Ava on the phone, you know, some of the programs that were suggested are things that our staff have looked into and put on, you know, like our future projects board, things like that. I know our forestry staff has talked about doing, you know, tree sale and things like that, which is somewhat related to native planting and plant sales, like Ava mentioned. You know, one thing I think is interesting that I didn't mention on the phone is that I've been working with our housing staff to develop stricter guidelines, I guess, or, you know, a higher bar for developers to reach for the Richfield Rediscovered program. That's going to include things like alternative landscaping requirements, non-turf grass. Okay.
Sorry, you're just a little choppy, Rachel.
Is it better now? Okay.
Yes.
Great. Anyway, so working with housing to beef up Richfield Rediscovered requirements for alternative landscaping and non-turf grass and stormwater management, things like that. So those guidelines / requirements aren't finalized yet, but when they are, I'll be glad to share them with this group. Just kind of helping out different departments with that. I know a lot of what Ava mentioned is more of a public works, you know, parks kind of thing potentially, but you know, landscaping is very much a private residence thing as well. So we are working on it. I'm sure, I can't think of the action specifically off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure we have language in the climate action plan about, I know, community gardens, which is, I don't know if it fits into Ava's definition, but you know, it's alternative landscaping according to my definition too. So things like that. But you know, always welcome to hear more ideas, and hopefully as we kind of get back into in-person events or figuring out mitigated events like rainbow drop-offs or purchase events, compost bins, things like that, working with other partners too. So yeah, very excited.
Thank you, Rachel. Amy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I just want to say thank you for coming. It is nice to connect with residents and hear that people, you know, are excited about this work and want to see more. I, you know, discussed with Rachel some of the ideas that you had in your email, and I thought a lot of them were great ideas. And as she noted, you know, I think they're on our future project. I think one that bubbles up towards the top would be the plant sale. I know that our city forestry department is interested in doing that. I guess one thing that kind of pops to my head that happened this week, that's a positive thing, like a negative turn into a positive, is we did have to cut a lot of trees out of Taft Park that had emerald ash borer. But we are working with partners to do tree planting, and we'll be looking at continuing to diversify the tree species we have. And look at more native landscaping around some of the parks. As Rachel noted, less turf, where it makes sense to have no mow zones and more like pollinator plants, bee-friendly plants, things like that. I think we're going to just continue to expand that program because it makes sense on a lot of fronts. Yeah, just thanks for your feedback, and we'll continue to work on these ideas. I like them.
Great.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming, Ava. And we're going to move on to the remainder of our agenda. But members of the public are welcome to observe commission meetings. So you're welcome to stay online as an observer if you would like, just to hear the rest of the discussion. So we'll go ahead and move on to staff reports. We have a few different things today. We're going to start with a little bit of an update on organized collection from Rachel and Amy.
Yeah, so the update is that there really is nothing to update you
You said it
on.
was a little update.
Yeah, you're right. You know, we are still in negotiations, you know, and where we're at, especially with the meeting that we're going to have tomorrow, Amy and I feel confident that we will be able to actually update you at the commission meeting next month. You know, it is just tricky figuring out, you know, legally, obviously we can't share anything right now, but when can we share stuff, you know, figuring out the you know, tie in with council meetings and things like that. So we do appreciate your patience, since we did say that there might be an update this month, you know, and there isn't, but I guess the general update is that it is going really well. You know, we're glad to have such you know, good partners in this, and you know, we are really confident that the process will continue to go well. So that's the update.
Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Just, you know, obviously there's not an update, but if you have any questions or comments now, you can take the time to do that.
Amy, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead,
no, I
Amy.
would just echo Rachel's sentiments that I think it's going well, and the haulers really are, I think, understanding our big picture goals and our why of why we're doing this. And we are on schedule and on track. So it's good so far. It's been going pretty smooth.
Mm-hmm. I guess my one comment is it's not about the process, but it is, since this is recorded, and I assume, you know, we'll have several residents watching it, and or if you know people who have had this question, I guess residents are either getting annual bills right about now or their quarterly bills right about now. And I've gotten 1 or 2 calls recently about residents, specifically with annual bills, who are questioning whether or not they should pay their bill in case organized collection, you know, does come to fruition this year, and then they would have paid for, you know, service for the entire year. And so the answer to that question, regardless of whether you have annual or quarterly, is to continue paying your bill. You know, continue having trash service without whoever you choose. You know, pay your bill. If you do happen to pay an annual bill or a quarterly bill in the future that you know, covers months that you know, the transition to organized collection has already happened, you will be refunded that amount for the service you don't receive. So whether it's annual or quarterly, it will be prorated. So you will get your money back if, you know, the transition, it won't line up perfectly for everybody. So that is, you know, something that is common in organized collection transitions, and haulers are well aware of that. So continue paying your trash bill. That's it. That's all I got.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. Not hearing any further questions from folks. So we'll look forward to that update in March. Let's go ahead and move on then to talk about the tree policy, the tree preservation policy, and get an update on that process.
Yeah, so there's slightly more of an update to this one. We will be having experts come to our commission meeting in March, which is actually also March 25th. You know, just so happens to be a month from today. Yeah, we'll at least be having, we have 2 confirmed right now. We'll be having potentially 1 more. Join us for more of a informal conversation, Q&A, not, you know, hard PowerPoint kind of presentation or anything like that, to share their expertise, you know, and if they have any experience working with cities who have created tree preservation policies, you know, talking about things like what should Richfield consider. This will be a chance for you all to ask your questions of these experts, you know, and for us as staff to learn as well. So yes, I'll send out more information for how it's going to be structured, and some example questions. But if you have been involved in this issue and or just have questions in general, please bring them. That will be a good chunk of our March meeting. Will be this presentation Q&A thing. So yep, we worked with Amanda and Gordon Hansen to kind of crowdsource some experts in community forestry and, you know, tree preservation, all that fun stuff. So we'll have a quite a few people there to talk to us about this. And I think that's the only update for tree policy stuff. Amy, am I forgetting anything?
No, I think that's
Yeah, I think that's
a
it.
big update. I think next month, we should have opportunity, like you said, to ask questions and learn, and then start.
Sorry, Amy, you froze up a little bit.
Oh my gosh, so this is what
Can you-
it's like.
Can you repeat what you said?
Oh,
Amy, you froze up. Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Can you repeat what you said?
Yeah, no. I think next month, we'll be able to ask questions, do the research, kind of dig into what a policy may look like and want to include, and then we'll be able to draft something to bring it to the council in future months coming up.
Cool. Do commissioners have any questions or comments as we're moving forward with this process, the tree preservation policy? I have one comment. I did submit our letter to council with our recommendations for how to approach the tree preservation policy. Ben read it. He's giving his thumbs up. And it got a couple of notes back just expressing gratitude to the commission for doing that. So that was well received. So thank you everybody for being involved in that process. Yeah, trying to think if I feel like I had another question, but maybe I'll have to come back to it because it escapes me now. But yeah, well, I remember. I was just going to encourage people to kind of do a little homework and brainstorm about what kind of questions you might want to ask those experts that are going to be at the March meeting. So Rachel said she'd send some information out in advance, which is great.
Yeah, I'll include a sample ordinance that was recommended to me by one of the people that's going to be presenting. So.
And will it be sort of a panel style, Rachel? Is that what?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't like finalized the structure or really even thought about it much yet, except for reaching out to our panelists. But just not having a presentation where they're all essentially, saying the same thing or anything. I want them to kind of, share their specific experience with us and or specific backgrounds that they bring either as residents or professionals or things like that. So it'll be loose presentation, more conversation, Q&A. So definitely bring your questions. I'll write some as well. So.
Yeah, so this is a great opportunity for us as commissioners to just kind of think about what we want to know or what we think maybe staff in the council should know moving forward with writing this
what you've heard from
policy.
Other residents.
Yeah, so this is a good opportunity. I was going to say, to reach out to others in the community that you think might be interested in this and kind of collect those questions that you might get from people between now and then, and kind of play that liaison role. So I just encourage everyone to do that. And yeah, that should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Have a little panel of experts discussion. That'll be a first for our commission. That's great.
Yep.
Why don't we go ahead, and were there any other questions or comments from folks before we move on? Seeing head shaking. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to those miscellaneous items. Rachel, you just had a few.
Just a few
things. Yeah.
So as you have probably seen in either the email or on the city's Facebook page, Hennepin County has put out a survey to learn and understand more of, residents essentially, but people's food journeys and food behaviors and habits, especially surrounding food waste. So everything from shopping to preparing to consuming and all that, to try and better strategize the education that they put out and the resources that they provide to residents. So please do go fill that out. It's pretty quick and it'll help us better serve you all, and especially the county to better serve cities to better serve residents. So please take that if you haven't already. I believe it closes next week. Next, also in the email, sending in comments about the county's draft climate action plan. This is also something that I hope you all can take a look at and submit comments individually as residents or commissioners, whichever hat you'd like to wear. There are a few sessions, I believe, if you would like to join those to submit your feedback. I believe in the form of, some sort of virtual meeting. Otherwise, there is an option to submit written comments, in a typical form style too. So they put together a really extensive climate action plan, and it is pretty cool to look at. It's very different from the one that we passed, as it should be. They are the county, but I also do recommend and highly encourage all of you to look at that. Slightly more of a time commitment than the food waste survey. So just if you're trying to plan it all out there. And then, as I mentioned in the commission email, there will be diversity, equity, and inclusion training for highly encouraged for commissioners. And I sent out those dates. It is like one option. It's not like a series where you attend all, 2 or 3 dates or whatever. So if you all can make sure that at least one of those works for you, I'm sure that the trainings will also be recorded. I will double check on that, but if you can attend live, that is definitely preferable. So we are highly encouraging all commissioners to attend that. I believe we cannot legally require you, but sustainability and equity are very, very tied together. You all know this, you're sustainability commissioners. So, it's very important for us to make sure that we're applying the equity lens to all the work we do, as we have looked at that with the climate action plan and organized collection, and several other projects. It's in the county climate action plan, things like that. So we all know the importance, and that will also we'll also be sharing. I believe it'll only be one date, but I think there will be more of a legal orientation, or just the orientation by our city attorney, covering things like social media use and data privacy, all the stuff that we kind of learned trial by fire as a new commission. I think there's going to be more of an official orientation. So I'll keep you all updated on that. I don't know if there's an actual date for that yet. So those are my training updates. If you have any questions, feel free to email me and I can get the answers from our other staff. And yes, Ava, I can talk with you about that link too. So sorry, Amanda.
I was just going to recap on deadlines. So the food waste survey closes next week. Did you have a specific date?
I mean, there is one. I had to shut off my VPN to get rid of the weird lag, so I can't open the email right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I did look up the CAP. The climate
It's
action
the
plan
5th.
Comments are due March 3rd, and then it sounds like maybe
Okay. Yeah, I think the food waste is Friday the 5th.
Okay. Well, those climate action plan comments are due in less than a week, so if you want to do that,
right.
It's coming up fast. And then with the DEI training, did you say there were a handful of options, Rachel?
Yeah, it's the end of March for at least 2 of them. I want to say the 24th and the 25th. I can send it. So it is the email that I sent out with the agenda. It's in there. But I will send it out in our recap as well. There are 3 dates, 3 times of the day to kind of, hit different schedules.
Great.
And when I get more information from our executive staff in terms of like signing up and registering and things like that, I will definitely pass that along. Amy says March 24th. So this is for the diversity, equity, and inclusion training. March 24th at 1 p.m., March 25th at 4 p.m., and March 30th at 6 p.m. And that is Wednesday, Thursday, and Tuesday. So,
and do you know approximately how long the trainings are, Rachel?
I think it was going to be an hour and a half or 2 hours, Amy. I don't know for sure.
So people can budget time.
Yeah.
Councilmember Wayland, you went through the training with Tiffany just like recently, right? I think it's going to be very similar to the training you just had. Do you know how long it lasted?
Yeah, it was 2 hours.
Okay. So I guess budget 2 hours.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I will check about the recordings too. just to make sure that it works for everybody.
Great. Well, I would encourage everyone to try to make time for that too. It's great that Ridgefield's offering the opportunity to commissioners to get that training, and hopefully we can find time to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I guess just if there are people who aren't aware, the city has hired an equity and inclusion administrator. So, you know, it's been something that the city has prioritized, and it's very clear now that, you know, with his name's Bill, with Bill on board, you know, that we'll be able to achieve a lot more like these trainings and like, you know, commission work plan review and things like that. So not sure if that was widely known.
Any questions or comments from folks about any of these miscellaneous items? Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to our discussion item for today to talk about municipal solid waste goals.
So I'll intro it before I share my screen. It's been a bit of a conversation amongst staff recently with efforts going on, as well as, you know, the things in the news about, you know, if you've seen the landfill news article that was in the Star Tribune. I think we might have mentioned it at a commission meeting before, but just current solid waste, you know, happenings that the city has clearly taken on efforts in the past few years with the organics drop off, with parks, introducing parks recycling, with trying to revamp municipal systems in our municipal buildings, you know, and so on and so forth, that we're trying to also have a structure within that and goals to reach instead of just filling or hitting initiatives. So part of the solution to this idea was to have more of an overarching structure narrative explaining you know, why we're doing this and how we can know when the city is you know, achieving not only achieving these initiatives, but, you know, making meaningful progress when it comes to solid waste management and reduction. So tonight, let me know if that's not big enough. This is a draft of some goals that have been written up with a little narrative explaining, you know, why essentially. And we wanted to get your input on both the narrative and these targets, and to see if this, you know, really indicates or helps, you know, paint a better picture for residents on how we know that we are achieving these solid waste reduction goals, because it is sometimes not just enough to know that there are recycling containers in the parks. You know, are they being used, or how much are we diverting, things like that. So we want to show you these as they relate to more of residential waste generation instead of more of the municipal efforts that we have been doing in the past. And so just for your background, which I think we have talked about when we went through our organized collection kind of primer presentation, but as you all know, the MPCA, the Pollution Control Agency, has lofty waste diversion goals for the metro area specifically, and Hennepin County has adopted those same benchmarks. And so cities all you know, work to help reach those goals. And we've really noticed that it's important for us to have Richfield specific goals as well, you know, to really show how does the climate action plan and other municipal sustainability initiatives tie in with these MPCA and county goals, and what does that mean for the city, you know, not just the metro and the state and things like that. So we set some of these targets. Obviously the percentages are rough estimates and might change based on your feedback, or might change, you know, based on other data that we get as we go through this process. But the initial targets that we have brainstormed are reach 25 to 40% of households receiving a cart and participating in curbside organics, reach 30% of households with every other week trash service and or weekly 35-gallon trash. So those are the two smallest, or will be the two smallest sizes if organized collection, you know, does get implemented. After the first year of, I'll have to specify this, but after the first year of an organized collection program, calculate the percentage breakdown for solid waste generation, tons of trash, recycling, and organics. This isn't as possible right now in an open system because we don't get all of those numbers reported to the city. So it's really hard to kind of figure out where we're even at in terms of generation and diversion. And then once we are able to establish that data, compare trash and recycling generation to previous years, to see how are the numbers decreasing, is the diversion increasing as, generation decreases, things like that. Decrease the total solid waste generation, as I've alluded to, with specific decreases regarding trash tonnage and increases regarding recycling and organics tonnage. And then offer quarterly educational opportunities around solid waste, recycling, organics, and reduction/reuse topics. So this last one is something that we do offer. It's not quarterly right now, but we do have multiple educational opportunities a year, including classes at Wood Lake. We try to do multiple social media posts and things like that. Again, it's a little harder to educate in an open system with several haulers, but just trying to, not only look at the generation and everything, but make sure that residents understand the system and know where everything's going and what happens to it, and, why certain things can't be recycled or can't go in the organics, or, why we always need to focus on reuse and reduction and things like that. So anyway, that's our first draft, and we're hoping to get your feedback on this as we go through the process. So any comments?
Yeah, Alyssa here. So just so I understand, so like the first 2 points are just saying this is like the reaching of these percentages would be if we happen to have organized collection. Is that like, or is it
right? Well,
like,
I mean, technically, whether or not organized collection happens, that's always an option for trash. That's the small, can. Currently, as you guys probably all know, every other week trash collection is not allowed by code for public health reasons. So that is an option that, we are looking to bring as, a part of organized collection. So some of these do assume the success of implementing organized collection. If that does not come to pass, these would be revised, but we are hoping to kind of, move this along and use it in our, path through or process through organized collection as well, to kind of help give more structure to that effort too. So they can be revised. Obviously, it's not, this isn't the comp plan or anything like that, but yeah, you're right. Curbside organics will happen either way because of the Hennepin County mandate. It's just the specific way that it happens depends if organized collection is passed or not, but it will be an option either way. So
okay, cool.
It would be a lot harder to reach that 25 to 40% in not organized collection though. So yeah, good question. Thanks, Alyssa.
I have just a general question about about measuring the data. Has the pandemic impact kind of been factored into this? Because I know personally, I've noticed we've been generating more trash this past year than a normal year, and so I could the data might get skewed if we start going back to normal and we think we're making great progress, but it's really just because the pandemic is slow.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'll have to do more research on this. I mean, I know that you are right in that, residential, trash generation has increased, obviously, and commercial has decreased. If we do start tracking data, let's say that organized collection does pass and get implemented, that tracking wouldn't begin until the program's sometime this fall. That's not to say, obviously, that I am meaning the pandemic will be over this fall and all of our data will be, clean and normal. But it's not as if we are starting to track now. I do think that there will be more people potentially returning to workplaces at by fall and winter and next year as we start to look at this, but it will also be important to look at other cities who have been tracking this tonnage through the pandemic to kind of see how that would affect Richfield's numbers. And we do have some numbers for, the city through the pandemic, and we score recycling numbers every year to the county. So I know our numbers for 2020 already. It's more that we don't report trash tonnage. So we can kind of see trends through the numbers that we do have. And I'm sure the haulers have the ability to go back and pull those numbers that they don't report to us with trash and everything, since they do, tip that at the county and know where they're picking up from. But in an organized system, which is what this does reference, they would be reporting all of the tonnage numbers. So that's trash, recycling, yard waste, organics, everything. So we have a better idea of the data. So that being said, yeah, we would be able to kind of see, okay, what is commercial generation compared to, pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and then hopefully we can also compare after.
Cool, thank you.
I think, with the pandemic, it will be really interesting to look at that data and just see how it's affecting trash and recycling, and post-pandemic, just seeing how, people, if they go back to work or if they continue to work from home, just kind of what the trends will be, if there isn't normal or if it takes a few years to get back to where we were pre-pandemic. But I know Rachel noted it, but I just want to reiterate, I just personally feel like these goals are really important because we're really behind a lot of other municipalities in Hennepin County. And I feel like, having some municipal goals will hold us more accountable. So it doesn't seem like it's their goals, the state or the county, it's our goals too. And we are tangibly reaching for something and holding ourselves to it. And I think it helps support the work that we're doing, whether it's educating people at opportunities like the farmers market, social media posts. I think that helps, better support the work that we're doing. So it's just not words. It's like we have some tangible numbers we're striving for. They're measurable. So I feel like this is important to set up, as soon as we can for the work that we're doing and the work in front of us.
Yeah, there are also historical calculations when it comes to waste generation by, I don't know if it's a group or something, but it's Regional Indicators Initiative, which is, that's where I got the graphs that I used in the climate action plan. And it shows that, I believe their most recent data is from 2018, but it shows that historically we have, and I mean, Richfield has generated on average more trash per household per day than other inner first ring suburbs. So it's just showing that, like we do have, room to improve. And by getting that data, like that's good data, although, it does come from other sources. And I'd prefer to have, the specific numbers from the haulers themselves who are servicing the city to say, okay, here's in essence a starting point for Richfield to know where we're at in the amount of waste that we're generating. We just, like I mentioned with that article earlier, there's rapidly no space in landfills. HERC is at capacity regularly. So it's just really trying to be mindful. It's the same reason why we brought up, Hennepin County's plastic reduction challenge, which I know Alyssa participated in. It looked pretty cool. So, things like that, and just trying to say, okay, it's not just what are we throwing away, what are we recycling, what are we composting. It is really trying to transition to the reduction and reuse mindset, which is something that as a city, we have not done a lot of education and outreach on, but we're hoping to kind of paint the picture of why we need to go there. So, all right.
I had a couple of comments about the targets.
Mm-hmm.
One was just, I think, in the way that the second to last bullet is worded. I think it would make more sense to me if it said something about, yes, decrease the total solid waste generation, and then something about like shifting remaining waste from trash to recycling and organics, rather than saying increases regarding recycling and organics. Because I know what you mean is like we want to increase the percentage that's recycled. But it kind of looks like it's saying we should increase the amount of waste. And it's like, even if it is recycling, we don't want to increase the amount of
That
waste.
is a very good point, yeah.
That's just a semantic thing. But then I was thinking about the education target, and I was just wondering if there could be something a little bit more aggressive or a little more tangible there, like a measurable metric of some kind, rather than just saying like the city's going to offer quarterly educational opportunities. I think that's great. You know, it's like the offering is great, but I think it'd be great to see something, a target around like the number of residents engaged. And I don't know exactly what that would look like, you know, if it was a percentage or, you know, a percentage of households enrolled in the program, or even just like a number. But I just think that could be a little bit more aggressive, that we could be setting a goal around, you know, how many people we're going to educate and something like that.
Yeah, that was honestly, that was the one that Amy and I were having, you know, a slight bit of trouble quantifying, because education, it is hard to quantify, even if you're saying, okay, like let's educate 30 people at each event. You know, it's like we want to make sure it's quality and not quantity. But the quantity is important too when we're talking about, you know, such a overarching you know, topic. So I think that that's a good point. You know, it's offering it's only the first step.
Yeah, or even maybe getting more specific, you know, like I don't know what those kind of educational opportunities would look like. Maybe it would be just a small number of people that would be able to attend, but then maybe there's a separate educational target that's a little bit more of a broad campaign. It's like, you know, well, we want to hold these many in-person or virtual like workshops, you know, and maybe you attach a number of residents to that, but obviously that's going to be pretty targeted. And then maybe you have a second educational related target that's like, you know, and through communications campaign, reach X number of residents through a newsletter or the annual report or the newspaper or some other, you know, or social media campaign or something. But
yeah,
I just think that, yeah, you should be thinking a little bit more aggressively about how you're going to get the word out about these changes and targets for the city.
And having a background in education, I would want to really focus to make sure it's environmental education and not environmental information, or separate the two, because having a flyer, a newsletter, a post is not necessarily education. Like, you want to provide engagement opportunities. So maybe that's a word we'll have to focus on as well. Maybe we could quantify some sort of evaluative tool that we have after the environmental education opportunities to solicit feedback about it. Maybe we could quantify that.
That's a good point.
Rachel, can you, I'm sorry, you probably said this already. Can you repeat what the time frame is for these targets?
Do you mean like for achieving them?
Oh, there
for,
it is.
like,
Yeah, I just
finalizing
didn't
this
see
document?
this.
No, it's fine.
I meant for achieving it. So this is our
yeah,
4-year target.
We just thought it seemed like a good amount of time to be able to start this process and get an understanding of what you know, where we're at, and also have time to achieve these goals, but it's not too long. You know, part of the narrative says that this is, you know, setting goals not only for the next 4 years is important to ensuring that we stay on track with initiatives. So we kind of, you know, see this as like, you know, phase 1 essentially. We haven't thought any further, but it's more like, okay, this is not a one and done kind of goal thing. This is really like, let's start Ridgefield's you know, solid waste goals, you know, file. and this is, you know, the first phase. So that's kind of what we're thinking.
Other thoughts or comments? All right. Well, hearing none, thanks, Rachel and Amy, for sharing this with us. Yeah, I think this is great. I'm just looking forward to seeing these, and this will be something that's like posted on the Richfield
So
sustainability page. Like,
yeah,
we
it
get
will
the word out
definitely
about these
be
targets.
there. So that's kind of I think what we need to figure out right now is Amy, how do we want to go about this? Because I know technically it is on the agenda to approve, but these are a fair amount of changes. So if the commission is not comfortable approving, we could probably have time to bring it back to the next meeting and stay on schedule. What are you thinking? Or we could also approve and then I could make the changes. I don't know how.
Yeah, I guess, you know, it depends on what the commissioners want to do. If they want to approve it with the amended changes, and we can go and add more details and make those changes, or if they'd like us to bring back the changes next month, you know, we could, right now it's going to go to the council. It's on the agenda for March 23rd to approve.
Well, then, yeah, that's.
If we, you can always take it off and put it on an April meeting, but it will get pushed out probably to that first meeting in April then, at least.
Yep. So yeah, I guess it's up to you all as a commission what you feel comfortable with.
What I might recommend for commissioners is that we consider a motion that says we recommend these goals with amendments, you know, and that gives some flexibility to Rachel and Amy to take our advice and incorporate it. Personally, I'd rather not see this delayed for our sake.
I can also,
if
that is, sorry, Amanda.
I was just going to see if anybody else had thoughts on that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay. If that is the way that the commission chooses to go, obviously this will be revised well before it goes to the council, and I can send it out to you all. The only thing is that we will not have a commission meeting to discuss it. So you all will be able to see it after it gets revised. It's just, it won't be a group discussion necessarily. And I suppose if there's something really drastically, you know, that you fundamentally disagree with in the revisions, we can figure out how to communicate that potentially, you know, with contacting, you know, Amanda as the chair. I don't foresee that happening, but if that is a way that commissioners do feel more comfortable, you know, we can do this another way too.
Does anyone not feel comfortable with a motion to approve this with amendments?
I'll stop sharing so you can see everybody.
Seeing some thumbs up. All right, hearing no objections, I'll ask for a motion to, I guess first, before we move on to the action item, I should just make sure there's no further comments in the discussion portion of this before we move on to the action item. Are there any further comments or questions? Okay. Then I'll go ahead and move on to the action item, which is recommending the solid waste goals to the City Council for approval. So I'll ask for a motion to approve these goals with amendments.
Motion to approve these goals with amendments.
Thank you, Alyssa. Do I have a second?
Second, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Now, I want to say all in favor, but we did it a little differently last time, Rachel.
We can, I think we can do that as long as you like see and or hear, and then we can probably also ask if there's any against, and that way you for sure know if someone opposes it.
Great. All right, all in favor, say aye and or raise your hand. Okay, we have
Aye.
3,
Sorry.
4, 5 plus Cameron, and I think that's everyone. But just in case, any opposed? All right, no nays. The motion passes unanimously. Great. Well, now in our last part of the meeting here, we want to welcome our new Community Services Commission liaison. Let's see, Jenna Hansen, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Do you want to just take a minute to introduce yourself and then share your report with us?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me to your meeting. I'm really excited to learn more about what you're working on. And actually, the last Community Service Commission meeting was my very first one ever. So I'm still pretty new at this, still learning what I'm doing. But I'm very excited to be your liaison. So, and Amy, I'm glad you're here in case I forget anything. I think I took decent notes, but here goes. So what we spoke about at our meeting last week, a big part of it was the rec programming that the city is working on for the upcoming months, specifically the summer. The pool is planning to be reopened, which I'm sure everyone's pretty excited about. But of course, there will need to be some mitigation, especially for indoor events. But yeah, expecting a lot of rec programming for kids, outdoor stuff this summer. So that's exciting. And then the parking lot at Vets Park is going to be redone. So they're going to work on the curbing because there have been some accidents there. I guess some people have been injured when they've fallen in potholes. So that's going to get fixed. I believe pretty soon. Is that correct, Amy?
Yep. So I think next week we're going out and measuring curbing, and it is going to be part of a public works going out for bid, and we should get those bids back in the coming weeks, and it will get done, I believe, sometime early summer.
Okay. Thank you for chiming in. I didn't write down the timeline. And there will
Yeah.
also be new picnic tables. So, and then one thing that is also coming up is May 5th will be Wood Lake Day. So that is the 50th anniversary of Wood Lake. So there'll be a lot of events going on over there. They're working on planning that. Let's see. And then another thing that is being planned is the Friends of the Arts Bandshell Music Festival, which is September 25th. So also a lot of planning going into that right now. Not a lot to report, just that it's happening and the plans are being made. And then one thing that our discussion item for our meeting was the Wood Lake, the building at Wood Lake, how it's very outdated. It doesn't have a lot of use. So working on ideas on what a new building will look like, comparing it to other existing park buildings. I know we wrote some down. So that's a big thing that is also being discussed, and we'll keep discussing further. Amy, anything I missed?
I don't think so. I think we did have, I think since our commission meeting, we have a 50th birthday committee for Wood Lake, and they decided with COVID and just the uncertainty of variants and numbers that I think May 5th is going to be an event that's just going to be very small to kind of rededicate Wood Lake as a facility. And then we are going to be planning a bigger birthday party the first weekend in October. I think we'll be able to have more people and it won't be as restricted. So hopefully, more of the community can come out. So I think we'll have something kind of ceremonious on May 5th, and then more of a celebration in the fall when it's safer for more people to gather. So,
All right. Well, thanks for filling those things. That is everything I have for you. So
Wonderful. Sounds fun. And yeah, welcome, Jenna. Welcome aboard.
thank you.
It's good to have you. All right. So just a reminder that our next meeting is a month from today, March 25th, 7 p.m. Are there any other questions, comments, notes for the good of the order from commissioners? All right. Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Cameron. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Alyssa. The meeting is adjourned.